Hey guys, welcome back to our channel, A Cup of Art. I am Star here, and today we are doing a digital process video. It is my digital process, and I'm on an art journey, okay? And what I'm gonna do in this video might not seem right, so take everything what I say with a grain of salt. But I do think generic things like canvas size, layers, and the brushes I use I think those are tips that you can take. And the program that I use to do art is Procreate. The program I used to use was Ibis or Ibis Paint, whatever you call it. And there are other free programs like Metabang, Autodesk Sketchbook that you can use. Or if you have any program that you use in general, I think some of the tips that I say today you can definitely use, or some of the things that I do you can definitely incorporate. But do take everything I say with a grain of salt. With all that said, and without further ado, let's begin. Please look at this arrangement of pictures that I have here because I think it's beautiful. Okay, let's begin. So I'm going to open up Procreate, and I'm just going to do this to show you guys what I use for my canvas size. So basically I use a 1080 by 1080 because that's like literally the perfect size for Instagram, and that's where I post all my art. So definitely go check it out if you haven't already. Links are down below. But yeah, I just called it standard because that's what I use, and I called it portrait because technically I use it for portraits as well. Anything with just the face, shoulders up, bust up, waist up, I use 1080 by 1080. For Inktober, I also use this for full body when I actually first did full body for the first time digitally. And yeah, it was pretty good because that's like the appropriate Instagram size, but drawing on a 1080 by 1080 is just horrible. I think that if you want to draw on a canvas size that it's like really good for full body, and then you can like duplicate it and convert the canvas size to 1080, that works, and you can upload that to Instagram. That works perfectly fine. But I just couldn't do it. So I needed a canvas size to use, and I have this random one. And I think I had a canvas size that I thought was appropriate, but it wasn't, so I edited it a little bit, and then I had this 1707 by like 2195. It's a random thing, but that's what I use. I just titled it OC because I created it for when I did my OC videos. If you haven't checked those out, links are down below, or just go in the channel, check it out. But when I was doing my OC videos, I needed a canvas size that was appropriate, and so I have that one. I would probably just leave it like full body as well, but yeah. That's my canvas sizes. I only use those two. I have some other ones because I like experimenting a little bit, but basically 1080 by 1080 is what we're using today, and that's my standard one. So I didn't mean for this to be a video, so I don't have screen recordings of me drawing this, so I'm gonna have to edit this time lapse down. But basically the first thing I do, and the first thing that many people do, is sketch. I sketch in about 2 layers. I do the body and the face on one layer, and then the hair on a separate layer because hair is like so hard for me to do, and I have to do that on a different layer. I just cannot because I erase too much. I don't want to erase my sketch lines, and so I do hair on a different layer. Sometimes if the face gets me annoyed, and it's rare, but sometimes I would do the face on a different layer as well, and so I don't have to constantly erase my sketching lines. But basically I sketch, and I sketch with a 6B pencil. Occasionally maybe I'll experiment with a different brush, but I use the default Procreate 6B pencil, and I did not edit it at all. So what you see on your screen is what you're going to get. I know a lot of people do use the 6B pencil, but they edit a lot. I never edit any of the pencils that I have. I probably should, but for now I have not. So the layer above the sketching layer is the line art layer. I lower the sketching layer opacity, and I do my line art. I usually use, or not usually, I always use a technical pen, and I always have like the thinnest line art ever. I used to do like regular size thick line art, I guess, and then somehow, some way, I don't remember, I started doing a thin line art, and from in my head that was like the norm to me. But the thin line art just was not, I was not feeling it in this picture, and so I was like, okay, maybe the technical pen has ran its course. Maybe my head is like, need to find a new pen. So I have this comic book line art pen, and so I tried it. and it was really good. It was super thick, so I put on this lowest size ever, and it was still super thick. You guys are going to see how thick it is, because it's on like literally 0 or 1%, whatever the lowest size for your brush is, and it was still really thick. And so I was like, okay, let me just experiment with this, and if I'm not liking it, I'll go back to using the technical pen. But I absolutely loved how it looked, and I was like, why did I stop using thick line arts? So I used that comic book line art pen for the body, and then I remembered, okay, the technical pen didn't run its course. It was just because I was going super thin. Let me go back to the technical pen and use a bigger size. So I did that for the face and the hair, and you honestly cannot tell a difference. They're both non-textured inking pens. They look the same, and so I know that I can go back and forth with either pen, and it will look amazing. And so I use a technical pen for the face, the hair, and the ears. And I have ears because I just wanted to try something else, and I was drawing a picture with a girl with ears for another video that I'm really excited about, but I haven't lined or colored that picture yet. So technically this is the first picture that I ever drew of a girl, an animal girl, a faunus girl, and that's what Ruby calls their animal people, faunus. So I was really happy with her, and so yeah. You can see that the lips was the first thing I colored here, because lips were giving me such a hard problem, and I knew that if I didn't do something at this moment, I was going to scrap this whole piece, and I did not want to do that. So I just put a color for the lips for my head to be like, okay, the lips are done. I go back and I fix the lips later. So basically, my next step after that, after the liner layer, is I put a background color. Usually, or I used to put the background color after, and I always have an idea what my background color is, and I build my character based on that. But sometimes the colors are like off, and so my background color, I can't use it anymore because it doesn't work with the body. And so recently I started to do my background color first, and then I build my colors and my body on top of that, and it has worked perfectly for me. So that's what I did. I have this creamy brownish, cream off-white color, and then I build my character there. And you can see I'm doing my flat colors, and my flat colors go above my sketching layer but under my line art layer, as kind of like you were filling in a coloring book. Your line art layer, your coloring layer, or it's under, and it's just flat. It's my base layer, and I had done nothing to it. I just color in everything, and then I get to build up like onto that. And my next couple of steps are literally the funnest part ever. And so when I was like, okay, this is looking really, really good. Sucks that I'm not making a video out of this girl, because it's just gonna be on my social media and I don't get to talk about it. But I was like, hold up, I've been meaning to do a digital process video for a while. Let me just screen record the rest of the process, and let me turn this girl into a digital process video. And so that's what I'm doing here. So right now I'm just going to show you guys everything that this girl has to offer. Don't mind the lips, they're going to be fixed. But yeah, everything the girl has to offer. You can see by the hair where the end of the eyes are and the eyebrows are. What I usually do is the layer above the line art, I will color it in to get rid of the eyebrows because they extend, and I don't want my pictures to look like in a certain cartoons how the eyebrows are over the hair. It works for a lot of pictures, but for me that's not what I like. So either I would just color pick the color for the hair, go above the line art layer, and color those areas in to get rid of the extension of the eyes and or eyebrows. Or sometimes I would just go into the line art layer itself and erase. Whatever, I do both ways, it doesn't matter. And in this video I did neither, and so when I was editing this the first time around to just cut down the clips, I remember that, so I do go back and fix it. And in the beginning when I was showing all my pictures in arrangement in order, I do fix it, and in that final piece picture it's going to be there, and in the end of the video it's going to be there so you guys can see that. But no, that's part of my flat and base coloring step that I do that. So my next step is we are going to do some hard shading. I don't know if this is accurate, or I guess like my way of doing it is accurate. Okay, I'm still on my art journey, and so there's a lot I need to learn. but I do, or attempt to do, some hard shading. So basically for anything, the hair, the skin, the clothing, I take the darker version of it, and so I just play around with my coloring wheel, find a good dark version that's not too ugly, and I do some hard shading. And what I mean by hard shading is what I'm doing on the screen right now. I'm just adding some color, I guess some shadow in certain places that need it. And so the first time I've ever done something like this was for the hair, because, you know, if you have a hair framing your face, it's going to create shadows. And so you have to do some type of shadows. But then I kind of want to step above that, and because I just feel like it looks nice, and I kind of just outline the whole face with whatever color I choose to add for the shadows for the hair. And then I use that same color for the shadows on the neck. And then I was like, okay, let me just go a step above and beyond, I guess, and do it for the arms. And if I was doing a full body piece, the legs and stomach and whatnot. So under the shirt, I would do the hard shading, and all my hard shadings for any of the things I do, body and clothes and etc., are all under the, of course, all under the line art layer. And then for the hard shadings for the skin, it is under the colored layer. It's above the colored layer, but it's under the hair color layer, if that makes sense. So I can have the shadow underneath the hair but above the skin. Yeah, so I just do it for the shirt, I do it for the pants, and I kind of just do this outline. And if certain areas need to be like thicker, or like the lines need to extend, like for the neck or under the shirt or part of the shadow for the face, I kind of just extend it, make it more bold and not very like thin like. And for the Kisara video, I did it for the first time for the clothes, because I made Kisara's shirt. She was wearing a pink pastel shirt, and using a very dark pink as an outline really made that shirt pop. And so I incorporated it here, and I think it worked really well. And so for the first time, I did it for the hair as well. I think I did it for the Kisara OC design video, and for her hair, and I really liked it, and so I incorporated it into here, and I absolutely loved it. At first I didn't, but working more and more with the hair, I ended up liking it, so I know that I'm going to incorporate it a lot with my future pieces. And then I also did it for the ears, because I don't know how to do ears, and maybe my ears in this picture doesn't even look right. I didn't use references. Usually in my sketching layer, I would use, or my sketching stage, I would use a lot of references from like Pinterest or just on Google, and I didn't use references for this piece. Normally I don't, because I like to draw from my imagination or just draw whatever comes to my head. And usually I only use references for clothing and maybe like body like dynamics, like body poses, but rarely do I use references for like eyes and face and things like that. Maybe hair, but that's pretty rare. I usually tend to just draw off my head, and so I should have used references to see how other people draw like their characters who have like animal ears or things like that, like characters who are like Faunus from like Ruby. Okay. But yeah, so I added the hard shading to the ears, or at least I attempted to do something to the ears, because I needed it to look better, because it was starting to not look good. And in my head, the ears it's on its own layer, so technically I could just get rid of it and no one would know the wiser. But I fully was committed to the ears, and so I wanted to try to make it look good, and I just was like, okay, let me add the shading or hard shading or whatever to the ears, and so I did that. My next step is, I guess, what I call soft shading. That's a technique. Hard shading, soft shading is a technique that people use to further render their pieces. If they're not much of just a like flat color type person, they need a little bit more. So that's what I call my things, I guess. But of course, the way I do it is not right. So if you really want to know accurately how to do it, go look up some tutorials, because I am not a teacher, and I honestly don't know what I'm doing. But basically, for my soft shading, I just get a darker color than what I'm working with. So for here, I'm doing the skin. So I get a darker color for the skin, and I use the ink blood brush to add shading, usually under the eyes, above the lips, bridge of the nose, and stuff like that. And then I use the smudge tool to blend. Other people use other inking or other brushes to blend, and I just haven't found something that works out for me. And so I absolutely adore the smudge tool. So I use the smudge tool. I use the peppermint smudge tool to smudge and blend the ink bled strokes that I use on my piece. And then since the peppermint brush is textured and the ink bled or bleed brush is also textured, it leaves a textured end, and I don't like that. Or at least I don't mind it, but if I could get rid of it, I want to. And so I go back with the technical pen, and I click on the smudge tool, I click on the technical brush, and I kind of just like clean out just the edges, but leave everything else the same, because I like the textured look of the smudging. I just don't like the ends, so I kind of like clean up that, make it really, really smooth. And sometimes if certain parts don't look good, then I would go in with the technical pen within the smudge tool and fix it. But for the most part, I use the peppermint brush to smudge it. I don't know if peppermint is a default Procreate brush. I'm pretty sure it's not, because I don't remember seeing it as a default sketching Procreate brush, but I don't also remember buying one or downloading one for free, so maybe it is, maybe it is not. With the soft shading, I also, or I guess recently, have been trying to understand lighting in pieces, and I still don't understand it super well, but I know that for my piece, her left side is what's going to be darker than her right side. So you can see for the neck and then the arms and the stomach, I'm just blocking out the darker parts of her body. I do it for the shirt as well, and for the pants, I think I might have done it for the pants. I honestly can't remember, but I know for the shirt definitely I did it. And you just kind of block it out, and I go in again with the smudge brush, the peppermint one, and I blend it out. And then if any edges look a little rough, then I go in with the technical brush to smooth it out. So my next step in the soft shading stage is I do this thing with the nose and the cheeks. I'll put some examples, but the first time I've done something like this was for my when I drew Wings Club in my own art style, and that was my old art style. Like it's sort of similar to how I draw now, but there's some differences to how I draw now to when I did those Wings Club pictures. But you can see that I have this thing with the nose and the cheeks, and I don't know how, but I added it in, and I really, really liked it. And so since then, I've been doing things like that. Recently, I have been doing it a lot because I've been doing a lot of full body pieces, and I don't draw the head that big enough. And I feel like if I add those details, the face is going to get lost. And so I don't add it when I do full body work. But when I do standard portrait, shoulder up, bust up, waist up pictures, I add this in because it's such a cute like detail, and it like really makes it like your signature in a way. And of course, I'm not the only artist who does this like nose and hard block, soft block shading for the cheeks as well. But I feel like even though there's other artists who do stuff like that, I mean, I haven't physically myself seen other artists, like none of the artists I follow seem to do things like that, but I just know that it's a universal thing. So yeah, I do that. I use the ink bleed brush again, and I just do that. When I did it for my Winx pictures, I used a regular inking brush. Maybe I used a technical brush, I don't remember, and I would just leave it like that. But now I think that I like it to be texture and not just like a non-texture inking brush. So I do the ink blend one, and then I also like blend it, or I guess smudge it out, instead of just kind of leaving it like a solid block on her face. And then same thing with like everything else. If any parts at the ends were looking a little rough, I would smooth it out with a technical pen. But for the most part, I do like the ends. I do like the textured look of the ends, and so for the most part I don't do it for the nose and the cheeks, but if I was going to, that's what I would do. So my next step here is to kind of fix the lips. Usually the lips are like the last thing I always work on in a piece, because it's always the hardest thing for me to do for some odd reason. I don't know, but yeah, lips are the worst for me, and working on this was, oh my god, dreadful. But if I didn't color it in the beginning, before I did anything else, I would probably have scrapped the whole piece, because I just would rather not work on the lip. And so I colored it in the beginning, but now we're getting towards the end and I had to clean it up a little bit, and just the style of the lips wasn't working out for me, and so, or it was, but at the same time it just wasn't, so I had to tweak it a little bit. First I fixed the color, because, you know, your top lip is darker than your bottom lips for most people. So usually when lips are not working out for me, I just default to top lip being darker than the bottom lip, and that's just it just makes it so much easier. It makes it 10 times better, and I just don't have to worry. And so I kind of just like edited the lips a little bit. I kind of fixed it, or at least tried my best to fix it, and I honestly think it worked out in the end, and it doesn't look like a catastrophe. Along with the lips, another thing that I tend to do last is like everything else with the hair. Okay, I am not a hair person. I will not, or I guess I cannot at this moment, draw realistic looking hair, and so I try my best to do everything I can for the hair to look nice, I guess. And so I always experiment every single time I do different pieces. It's always like I'm always experimenting, so I can't really give you like a detailed step-by-step what I do to the hair, because it's always different and it's always new. But for this here, or at least, okay, across every picture I do, the bottom half of the hair towards the neck is always the darkest. You know, that is just simple art technique. The back and bottom part of your hair near your neck is going to be the darkest. So I do that all the time, no matter what. And then sometimes I just kind of leave it like a flat color, because I cannot deal with it. Other times I add white highlights to the hair. Other times I like to just do like weird colors to the hair to kind of block the fact that I don't know how to do hair. So everything's always different. But so for here, I had the shadows in the bottom, and then I wasn't liking it, so I do end up fixing it, as you can see here. And then I did an outline around the hair like I do for the body and the clothes, and then where her hand is by her hair, I gave it like a dark shadow to see that she's casting a shadow on her hair. Usually if you have like lighter color hair, you're going to see that like shadows cast on your hair. If you have darker color hair, you might not see it well, but it's a picture, and so like let me just say that she's casting a shadow on her hair and you can see it. Yeah, and I added some other darker colors here and there, and then I kind of erased certain parts so the flat color underneath can be like lighter streaks or highlights in her hair. I really liked how that went. And then it came to the ears, and I have never done this before, and I was just gonna leave the ears the way it was, but I thought, okay, maybe I should do a little bit more, because the hair ended up looking so nice. The ear is gonna be such a distraction, at least for me. So what I did was I picked the ear, find a slightly darker color, and I did like shadow, or I guess I just colored in at the top and the bottom, And then when I was kind of thinking about lighting wise, or I guess not really, but I was thinking that a certain part of the ear would be darker, and so I color picked again, find a dark color that worked, and kind of like colored in what I think would be the darkest color. If that's not what the darkest color would be lighting wise, then that should say she just has two colored ears, like, because I just honestly I cannot. After that, I just kind of add any extra details that I need to, so that includes like white in the eyes, that includes maybe even more shadows or hard shading in the face, or anywhere else. So for this piece, I wanted her to have freckles. I was just feeling like she needed freckles, and I wanted it. And I've only ever had one other person, or I've only drawn one other character with freckles, and his name is Elliot, and he's a black boy with pink curly hair, and he has freckles. And so I wanted another character to have freckles, and I thought, okay, we're gonna make this girl have freckles. So what I first did was kind of went back and forth with the peppermint brush and the 6B pencil brush, and just none of those were looking right. And I know I wanted textured freckles, so I thought that was gonna look nicest, but it wasn't working out for me. And so what I had to do was use the technical brush, and I found a dark color by color picking the face and going to a dark color, and I just kind of put dots on the cheeks. And then I thought, okay, we can use it on the nose as well, and it will look really, really good. And I was going to keep it there. But by accident, I ended up going to my brush settings by accident, and ended up clicking a pack. I can't remember what the name was. I think it was a Jinx sketch pack. But I clicked that one, and miraculously, the soft grain brush popped up. And that was like God giving me a sign, because that brush brought this piece together, and I absolutely love it. So basically, on a different layer, over the freckles, or maybe it was under, but I can't remember, on a different layer, I just kind of lightly brushed with that soft grain brush over the cheeks and over the nose to kind of, give it its like texture. And I was just going to use it by itself and get rid of the freckles and just have that textured grainy look, but I thought it looked really, really good together, and so I kept it. And then when I took a step back, I looked at everything, and I thought, okay, you know what? Why don't I just do this for the whole body? And so I did it for the whole body, and it looked phenomenal. And I know I'm gonna use this brush again. I have to really look through every brush I have, because I'm finding these like hidden gems that I didn't know about, and I have so much brushes, and I have to stop using the same ones, but at the same time the ones that I use all the time work for me. So I don't know, but this girl is freaking fabulous. I added this effect to her ears, her face, all over her skin, and it just like brought it together. And then I also did another layer of the soft grainy brush, but like in a pink-ish, dark brown pinky color, across her nose and face only, and just to like drive it home. Like, look at her cheeks, it's like she's so freaking adorable. Look at her. And so yeah, that was that. I was so happy with this piece. There's a lot of faults, a lot of bad things, but there's some good things as well. Something you don't see in the screen recording, that I didn't do, but I added on later. I mentioned with the in my line art part, I mentioned that I have to erase the part of the eyebrows and the eyes that extend over the hair, and so I did that after editing this. And then something else that I usually do, because I don't do like textured or realistic eyebrows for my characters, I just do like one swoop. Sometimes make them really thin, sometimes make them really bold, but yeah, basically I do this cartoonish thing with the eyebrow, just like one line. I usually take the same color that I did the hard shading like under the hair and around the clothing, and I do that color under the eyebrows, just to kind of make it look a little better. And if I don't do like bold eyeliner for the eyes, I use that same brown or whatever color I use for the hard shading, and I use it over the eyes. Not like eyeshadow or anything, just kind of like more shading around the eyes to make it look good, because I don't have like a thick black eyeliner line. Yeah, so usually with my eyes I would do a thick eyeliner line, but for this one I did a new type of eye style and I'm really loving it. Hopefully I can draw this more. But yeah, so I've been changing my eye shape recently for my full body pieces, my OC drawings, and so I wanted to do a different eye shape here and on my normal one, and it worked out really well. So I had to add the hard shading, since I had no thick liner at all. Add some hard shading to the top of the eyes, just like with the eyebrows. And here I'm just doing like minor like erases for anything that extended off the lines. Usually I don't care, because you can't really tell if like a shading extended the lines, even with a white background. But sometimes just for me, I would like to know that I didn't draw past the outline, and so I erased. But if I was doing like a transparent background, this would be very important, because those like little extra stuff will be picked up by that transparent background. But yeah, I'm done. So I'm gonna let you guys see this 30-second time lapse, and I'll show you guys the finished piece at the end. And that is it. Oh my god, you do not know how many times I filmed this video. Every single time I try to make it shorter and shorter and shorter, and I kind of made it shorter at the end, but oh my god, I talked too much and I had to justify every little thing because I wanted it to make sense. But yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Overall, I just wanted to say that things you should take away is use clipping mask, use alpha locks, sketch and do everything on multiple layers. That is okay, and then you can merge them at the end or leave it the way it is. Name your layers. I don't necessarily name my layers all the time, but I always name my shading layers, because I always keep doing different types of shading and then I can never figure out which layer was for what. So I always name my shading layers. But if you're an unorganized person and you just need to be organized, name your layers. That is another good takeaway. And then maybe you want to try out the brushes I used. That would be really, really cool. Definitely find the Jink Sketch soft grainy brush. I believe it was a free brush. I did purchase some brushes from him, but I'm assuming that was free. So definitely try out that brush, because it's literally amazing. But yeah, any other tips that I have will be in the description down below. Any links will be in the description down below. We do have a commentary YouTube channel. We talk about cartoons, anime, live action, things like that. So links to that will be down below as well. And yes, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you liked it. I know this video was long, so hopefully it was a good background noise while you worked. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. If not, that is totally okay. We're just gonna continue to keep doing videos because we love it. And yeah, and then I will see you in another video. Still don't have an outro, so peace.